Good morning to all. In the last class, we started with the 6th chapter, that is changes around us. And we were discussing about the different kinds of changes. And in that we discussed about desirable and undesirable changes. Today let's discuss the next two kinds of changes. So do you all remember which are the different types of changes? That is desirable changes, undesirable changes, reversible changes, irreversible changes, physical changes and chemical changes. So these are the different types of changes. And in that we discussed the first two, that is desirable and undesirable. So today let's discuss reversible and irreversible changes. So have you heard of the term reversible changes? So what are reversible changes? Changes which can be reversed to their original form, that we call it as reversible changes. Changes that can be reversed. The changes that are temporary, that we call it as reversible changes. Changes which can be undone or which can be reversed, what do we call? We call it as reversible changes. So reversible changes are mostly physical changes. They are temporary changes. So such changes, what do we call? We call it as reversible changes. So let's see some examples. The first one is melting of ice. So melting of ice into water. Is it a reversible change? Yes. Ice, it is in solid state. On heating, what happens? It changes into water. So can you change water back to ice? Yes. On cooling, water again changes to ice. So is it a reversible change? Yes. Why? It can be reversed. It can be reversed to its original form. It is just a temporary change. So, melting of ice into water, it is a reversible change. From water, on cooling, it again changes to ice. So, it is a reversible change. It is just a temporary change. It can be changed to their original form. Then, another example is melting of wax. Is it a reversible change? Yes. On heating, what happens? It gets melted and it changes to liquid state. On cooling, it again changes back to its solid state. So here, a new substance is not formed. The melted wax is reversed back into solid. So it is a reversible change because it is a temporary change. A change that can be reversed into its original form. So they are called as reversible changes. Then another example is water cycle. So water cycle involves reversible changes. On heating, water changes into water vapor. It leads to the formation of clouds. The water droplets will become heavier. It falls to the ground as rain. So again, the cycle starts. So water cycle is a series of reversible changes. The changes that can be reversed. It can be reversed to their original form. So such changes are called as reversible changes. So what are reversible changes? The changes that can be reversed. The changes that can be undone. We call it as reversible changes. Then some reversible changes are useful. Here you can see the picture of a piece of metal and that is in solid state. On heating, what happens? It changes into liquid, that is the melted metal. So this melted metal is poured into a mold. Then the metal is cooled. Then what happens? It again regains its solid form. So as a metal undergoes reversible change at certain temperatures, which can be molded in various forms and shapes that are useful. So it is a reversible change. Here this metal undergoes reversible changes at certain temperature. Here, this piece of metal was in solid state. On heating, it changes into the liquid state. Again, it was poured into a mold. Then it was left for cooling. Then again, it regained its solid shape, which is molded in various forms and shapes. So, some reversible changes are useful. So, that is about reversible changes. The changes that can be reversed, the changes that can be reversed to their original form, that we call it as reversible changes. Then, the next one is irreversible changes. So, what are irreversible changes? Changes which cannot be reversed, changes which cannot be undone, that we call it as irreversible changes. So, these changes are permanent changes. We cannot change them. We cannot reverse back them. We cannot change them to their original form. So, such changes are called as irreversible changes. So, these changes cannot be undone or cannot be reversed. So, such changes, what do we call? We call it as irreversible changes. And they are permanent changes. So, most of the irreversible changes are chemical changes. So, let's see some examples. When we boil a raw egg, it becomes boiled egg. So, can we change this boiled egg back to raw egg? No, it is not possible. The change is permanent. Can you change it back? No, it is an irreversible change. That is, it is a permanent change. What about a bud that changes into a flower? Can we change the flower back into a bud? No, it is not possible because the change is permanent. What about a seed that grows into a tree? Can we reverse the tree back into a seed? No, it is not possible. Why? Because the change is permanent. What about a baby change into a boy? Can we reverse it back? No, it is not possible. So, irreversible changes plays a very important part in our lives. So, these changes cannot be reversed. These changes cannot be undone because these changes are permanent. So, such changes we call it as irreversible changes. In this class, we discussed about the two types of changes, that is reversible changes and irreversible changes. The changes that can be reversed or the changes that can be undone, what do we call? Which is called as reversible changes. And changes which cannot be reversed, changes which are permanent, what do we call? We call it as irreversible changes. I hope it is clear to you. So, we'll discuss the rest of the topics in the next class. Till then, thank you.